Please state your name and whether you're in support or opposed Bill 95.
My name is Michael Blas-Makio. I am in support of the bill. I'm the chairman of the Guam Historic Preservation Review Board and the chairman of the Guam Preservation Trust and a practicing architect. I come to you with maybe three perspectives that I'd like to share with the group to illustrate the support that we have for the bill. As Joe alluded to, the building is internationally known. That building by architect Richard Neutra, which was, I believe, designed immediately following the war and built, I think, around 1951, is one of only a handful of projects, and the architect has gone on to international fame, and there are numerous books and articles all over the world about that architect's practice on Guam. Just in his writing about this school, he said that when he came and visited UMATIC, he thought that UMATIC was so beautiful that there was nothing he could do as a designer except to put a lot of windows and openings so everybody in the school would be able to enjoy the beauty of UMATIC. And I think a lot of designers would be smart to listen to that kind of logic. I mean, if you realize how beautiful and important the village is, you support it. The architecture doesn't compete with the community. It's there for the kids to always be able to look out that window and understand where they came from. The second thing that I wanted to just comment on is that as a designer, and with all the priority that's being placed now on sustainable design, one of the most sustainable things that we can do is to keep our existing buildings in operation. When you talk about closing down buildings like the school, excuse me. When you talk about closing down buildings like this school that we're talking about right now, you're starting to put the burden on the community of having to find other places and other institutions that have to be built. You start the ball rolling of having areas that are not currently developed, what we call pristine areas. You start invading those pristine areas to make way for these new schools when you abandon a building like this. This is a building that's perfectly functional, and it's adapted well to the needs of the community. I mean, all the people here will tell you they love that school. It meets their needs. And it's part of how this community defines itself. It's a small, tightly knit community. They don't want to have their children being sent off, longer distances away from this campus. They want the campus right here where they're connected to the campus and the community center. They don't want to be bunched in, with the thousands of other students in the larger campuses where their kids are going to get lost and where their voices get lost. So again, the point is that you've got a building that's viable. You're not creating any garbage by making a new building. You're not creating construction waste. You're not creating debris. You're just not harming the environment. Using this building is the most sustainable thing that you folks could do. And then the other part of it is that now that I see the community, how they've galvanized around the school, I think it's important to note what other small communities are doing across the island. So as an example, our neighbors in Arahan are actually considering right now doing a community preservation revitalization plan, which is to sit down and look at ways to improve the community in a really organized fashion. They're working with the trust right now. We're reviewing some grant applications for that type of project. But when you combine that with the big picture, I mean, we've got the education issue here, and we've got a physical structure and how the village appears. You can add in a lot of the other considerations, transportation, recreational facilities, educational facilities, and opportunities, and opportunities for senior citizens. You roll that all into it. So what I see right now is that the communities come together to support the school, and I think that they'll be successful. I think that the people of Guam have to hear that this school is important to this group of parents in this community, and that's the school that they want to keep open. But again, the next message that I would invite the community to engage in is to really look at the longer-term, larger picture of what this village's priorities are, where you want your money, your tax dollars invested, Those kinds of questions. And the Guam Preservation Trust and the Guam Historic Preservation Review Board are here to help you with that. So that concludes my testimony.
Thank you so much. Don't leave. Sir, state your name for the record, please, and whether you're in favor or opposed. Bill 95.
Good morning, Senator Frank-Agun and Senator Matt. First of all, I'd like to welcome you for coming down and finding that you two senators are the only ones that seem to care with issues like this, and you don't find Yamatak far to travel. So therefore, I take off my hat for you two. Also, I'd like to congratulate the students of FQ Sanchez, those that have received their awards this morning. It is nice to witness from among two senators and two board members to be present this morning to witness such presentation. And it shows to say that this school up here produces fine students, good quality students, and we deserve to keep this school up here. My name is Frankie Fauji, by the way, for record, former mayor of Asan Mena, and as a community leader, I consider myself community leader for life, and I take stance on issues such as this that will affect our children's life, as we always say, the future leaders of the island. That being said, I like to quote several sections here on the bill, and it's so touchy. And I hope that the other leaders, the other senators, can really find this in their heart to reconsider such an issue. And to me, it doesn't make sense for this kind of creation to be written in order to keep a school, an institution, an important institution that affects our children. But nevertheless, I commend you, the Senator, for coming out with something here that would ensure the future decisions of any such individual that comes up with a dream to get rid of a school like this. Okay, on sections 1, line 4, I like the wording. It says, Ilislaturan Guahan further finds it that FQ Sanchez is a model community school where the majority of the children can walk to school and where every teacher and member of the staff knows every student and their family. That's what they call one-to-one, right? That's a very good example of one-to-one. FQ Sanchez is a school that the village of the Yamatak calls their own, not just because of its historical significance, like two gentlemen just testified, but because many of the residents and community members of the village attend the schools as well. And we have a lot of products that came out from the school. We have an individual right now who's a Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Guzman, who's a product of this school up here. We have other individuals like Mr. Thomas Sanchez, who's also a Lieutenant Colonel. Those are the evidence that this school has produced, and many among other students that I could not probably recall and mention their names. Okay, and it also states that down on section 10, line 10, Ilislaturan also further finds the children, families, and communities are not just numbers or a spreadsheet, but real human beings with real needs, wants, and concerns, and that those needs must always take priority over saving a few dollars. Saving a few dollars. You know, as leaders, I think dollars wouldn't be an issue here, because it seems to me that every time there's problems within the school, which we are now facing a dilemma, they seem to come out with fundings right there at the peak of the moment. Why couldn't they just look at it in a long-term matter and find that money and give the schools their proper need?